Katarn here, waiting in line for Star Wars Episode 9. As you see, there's a lot of people waiting around here. It's been about 3 hours so far. I wanted to put a couple of my predictions on record before I go into this thing. In case I'm wrong, in case I'm right. So, I predict that Rey's parents are going to be revealed, and I have been saying since Episode 7 that I think she is a Palpatine. The first clue is in the big fight at the end of Episode 7 when the Force awakens in her, so to speak. She starts fighting with Palpatine's saber stance, and I swear to God you can hear a couple notes of John Williams' Emperor theme play in the background. That combined with what Jet Lucas said on Twitter a couple years ago about comparing Rey's story to Anastasia, royalty raised as a commoner, it fits. So this theory will either age gracefully or it will not. We'll see. Other than that, I'm just going to have a good time. Expecting some thrilling visuals. And, yeah, let's do it.
It's movie time, guys. I am here with the band, and we're about to watch Star Wars Episode 9.
Wait, is this for your YouTube channel?
Hello there, Kyle Katarn here, and it's time to talk about Rise of Skywalker. So I actually filmed a review right after I watched it, and then my hard drive failed and I lost the footage, so I've had to re-record this. I've seen the film a couple times since then, and I've taken a bunch of notes, and I'm going to hit you with them in chronological order. First, the broad strokes. I enjoyed the film, I liked it, I had a good time, I left the theater feeling like I got what I came for. I did have some issues with it, I will get into that. Let's dive in, shall we? So starting at the beginning. I kind of wish that we'd gotten to hear or see the sinister message of revenge that Palpatine sends across the galaxy, rather than just read about it in the story crawl. I thought that would have been cool. Because it's Palpatine, and you know he would have been super smug about it. Would have been fun to see. Kylo Ren fighting the local Mustafar fighters had some excellent choreography, like choke slams, pile drivers. You do not want to mess with Kylo Ren. And that's all testament to Adam Driver's amazing physical acting. That dude carried this trilogy. He's amazing. The Wayfinder was cool. I really thought it was a holocron at first. I'm kind of surprised they didn't go with holocrons and invented this new thing, but hey, more lore is always welcome. I want to get a Wayfinder. I want to get a GPS for my car that looks like a Wayfinder. All glowing red and evil. That'd be dope. Exegol, the evil Sith planet that Palpatine's been hiding on for so long. Visually, I thought it was badass, like the big evil floating space rhombus Kylo has to walk underneath to get to the lift. I wonder if that's a security measure, like if you don't have the dark side in you, the rhombus just falls down and crushes you on the ground. Because you got to walk pretty far underneath it to get to that thing, like out of safety. Kind of like when Maul and Ezra team up on Malachor in Rebels, and they have to lift those huge stones to get access to the Sith Temple. Similar concept. Palpatine's face-wrapped acolyte people that were tending to the medical beds. A lot of questions, you know. I thought that they were very cool, and yeah, I get it, like weird dark side stuff going on down there with a couple of followers. Makes sense. I wonder how they got to the planet. Did Palpatine bring them with him? Like, stuff like that. And a big tank of Snokes. A Snoke tank, if you will. Also creates way more questions than answered. They were all disfigured in the same way. And Snoke has damage. It's not a deformity. It's like wounds from a battle. And all of the clones were that way. So was Snoke ever a real person? And they cloned him after he had a battle? Or was he completely invented by Palpatine? Even if they did clone a guy who had those wounds, that's not how cloning works. We've seen it work before. I don't know. I'm reading the Rise of Kylo Ren comic right now, and maybe that'll give me some answers. I'm only on the 2nd issue. When Palpatine hits the line, like, a pathway to many abilities some consider to be unnatural, I was grinning ear to ear. That was awesome. I didn't think they'd bring the whole line back. That was fun. The Sith fleet got introduced really fast. Everything in the movie happened really fast. The pacing was pretty intense, actually. But, yeah. Act 1, Scene 1, boom. Already. Well, Scene 2. Right from the get-go, you know. The big act has already started. The Sith ships are rising. The plan's in motion. You didn't have a moment to stop and catch your breath. It was like a non-stop barrage of adventure. You know, which isn't a bad thing necessarily. They did have a lot of plot points to tie up. I enjoyed seeing Chewie play Dejarik with Finn and Poe on the Falcon. That was cool. Nice little callback. Man, can you imagine if when Poe accuses Chewie of cheating, he just like rips his arm off? So who is Cloud? Why is Cloud? What the fuck is a Cloud? Why was he there? Nobody knows. But there he was. Probably just exists for the memes. I thought the big ice station asteroid planet thing was cool. It was really heavily featured in the trailers, and so I thought it would have more of like a significance in the plot. Turns out it's just a way station where they go to meet Bulio, who was a cameo by Mark Hamill. I recognized his voice after like a sentence. I was like, that's definitely Mark. Awesome. I really like the design of the Ovisian species in general. I thought it was really cool. Probably one of my favorite sequel alien species. During the training montage, I thought it was weird that BB-8, who has encountered so many situations and peril and monsters on different planets, got stuck under a tree trunk and it was just game over. He was done. He needed help. I mean, I guess he is a companion and not a solo droid, but still. Come on, dude, get your shit together. It was really cool to see Rey having the Jedi texts and reading them and using them. It established some really important continuity from the events of the last movie. And it helps to kind of explain why she's so much more powerful and so much more skilled than we've ever seen her before. She'd been doing her homework. I thought her bickering with Poe was believable. It made the characters feel a little bit more human and less just like these larger-than-life cartoonish heroes. Now, seeing Leia was emotional. You could tell sometimes that the footage had been repurposed, but I didn't care. I was immersed. I was in the story. And I definitely got a little teary-eyed a couple different times with Leia. Yeah, it was a really special moment in time, actually, being in the theater watching that movie, because for a brief while it felt like Carrie Fisher was just still here, you know? And that was really special. So the Knights of Ren looked badass. And that's about it. They looked badass. They didn't really do much, but I think we all know that they're more of an action figure kind of thing, so I did not expect them to do much. I wasn't really surprised or let down by that. They did look cool, though. So the Monkey Man alien who fixes Kylo's mask was totally cool, and I want to know more about him. I've been looking, and I can't find any info, so if anyone knows anything about who or what that species or character was, let me know in the comments below. I thought Allegiant General Pride was totally awesome. Easily one of my favorite Imperial officer characters since Admiral Piet. I don't count Thrawn as an officer character. I think he's more of a full-fledged villain. But Pride was totally cool. He challenged the notion of this like bumbling, incompetent First Order officers, which is all we'd seen in the last two movies. No, he was totally cool. And his death was pretty brutal too, getting yeeted out the window like that during an explosion. It's an intense death for an intense guy. I thought Kylo just fucking flipping the dude onto the ceiling. Total power move. I wish I could bust that out in my work meetings. It's like a compulsion. He just has to one-up Vader with everything he does. He's driven by it. Or, as we now know, driven by what he thinks was Vader, but was actually Palpatine in his head the whole time. I buy that. I like that. The celebration on Pasaana was totally cool. It was like a space Burning Man, and visually it was awesome to look at. Very colorful, very like busy. I thought that Rey and Kylo's Force connection made a lot more sense in this movie. And in retrospect, it kind of made the Force connection scenes in Episode 8 even better. Except for Ben Swolo, which will live on in infamy. The way he grabs her necklace was cool, and I like the way they were introducing that idea so that it would become useful later on in the film. It also kind of upped the stakes of their bond and showed that it was getting stronger. And then we get Lando! He looked great, and I'm also really looking forward to the inevitable comic series that it talks about him and Luke searching for Ochi, because the story had some meat there. It was probably pretty cool. Also, I know he was there on Pisana searching for the main trio, but in my headcanon, I like to think that he was just like got there early, was chilling at Space Burning Man, you know, having a couple drinks, doing his Lando thing. Awesome. The jetpack chase was fun. It felt very classic Star Wars. It was like a good old-fashioned chase sequence. The way the jet troopers exploded was actually kind of shocking, and a couple of people gasped in the theater, which I thought was funny. So I immediately recognized Ochi's ship as the one that dropped Rey off in the Force Awakens flashback. And you know what? I bet it spelled awful in there. Totally sealed for like 20 to 30 years with a decomposed skeleton inside. Ugh. C-3PO had some really good classic like dithering moments as well. Some good well-timed dialogue. You could tell that there was like a concerted effort to inject as much classic Star Wars feel into this movie as they could. When Chewbacca got captured, I really wish that it had happened on screen. I wanted to see how that worked. But that would require the Knights of Ren to do something, and that's not allowed, apparently. The misdirect with his death totally got me, and I was pretty upset. When that shuttle exploded, I was like ready to go home and rage on Twitter. I'm glad it turned out not to be the case. Rey versus the TIE Fighter was dope. It was nice to finally see the conclusion of that sequence since it was teased so many times in the trailers. The same with the way the Mandalorian cuts that Quarren in half with the door in the first episode of Mando. That was in like every teaser. Payoff. When Rey slices the TIE Fighter's wing, though, Kylo's fuselage is spinning so fast, like that would have turned him into mush inside. It was crazy. Also, I thought that Rey and Kylo's tug of war with the shuttle was kind of amusing, actually. Like, just imagining the pilot inside, like, what the fuck is going on? The planet Kijimi was really cool. It was reminiscent of like a snowy Jeddah. And I kind of wish that had been the new Battlefront map instead of Agent Kloss, because urban maps are in short supply these days. We've got Tatooine, and that's about it. It was a very cool, like, traditionally Star Wars location. Poe turning out to be a former spice runner, like, it makes sense and it fits with his character, but it came out of left field, and I didn't really know what I was supposed to do with that information. I'm assuming it's something that they're going to explore with a comic or something, but at the time it felt out of place. I thought Zori was interesting. Her outfit felt like an adaptation of a comics character, like someone from the comics that they've brought to life. Like just the outfit choice, maybe it was the colors, I don't know. She was good though. Kerry Russell did a good job. Babu Frick was amazing. Great puppetry, and that whole sequence felt very Star Warsy. Working on the droid, little weird puppet man doing his thing, alien languages. That scene got back to what makes Star Wars cool and fun, because space is weird. The memory wipe scene was actually really emotional, and it was really jarring to hear a voice that wasn't Anthony Daniels coming out of the protocol droid. Like, we're so intimately acquainted with that voice, with that face, that hearing another one was like, whoa, this is weird. It felt unnatural. The glowing red eyes was cool. Immediately made me think of 000. Seeing the Falcon get towed into the Star Destroyer by TIEs was a really cool visual, but I don't understand why they didn't just have a First Order pilot get on board and fly it in. Seems like a lot easier. Then again, it's the First Order, so they're all about spectacle, aren't they? When Poe and Finn go back to rescue Chewie, and they find him and he doesn't have the bandolier on, he looked super naked. I thought that was weird. Like, that's all he ever wears, but you take it off and it's like, whoa, he's a naked-ass Wookiee. And then Poe, Finn, and Chewie just mobbing down the hallway, blasting stormtroopers. That was a very classic Star Wars moment, and probably one of the high points in the action scenes for me. Yeah, this was a really fun movie. There were a lot of moments where I was just, like, having a good time, you know? Kylo and Rey's duel was cool, and I thought that the way that they cut back and forth between locations was some really impressive cinematography, and I liked the way, like, he sliced a container on the planet, and then all the stuff, the contents spilled out into the quarters, and, like, smashing the mask is how he figured out where she was. Really cool idea. So in the flashback, Rey's dad kind of looked like Gendry. I don't think it is. Let me know in the comments. I'm sure everyone already knows. Also, Rey's a Palpatine. That's crazy. I called it, by the way, when I watched The Force Awakens. When she awakens, she immediately jumps into Palpatine's saber fighting stance. She fights the same way that he does. And I swear you can hear the first couple notes of the Emperor's theme in the background. It is very similar to Rey's theme. But yeah, I called it. I made that theory known and people laughed. And so now I feel pretty vindicated. Also, Rey being a Palpatine makes another thing clear that I never thought that we would have to consider in canon. Palpatine fucked. He had kids. So many questions. None of which are appropriate for this YouTube channel, so we're not going to get into that right now. Moving on. Hux just like announces he was the spy, and Finn and Poe's reactions were totally hilarious. They're like, what? You? Why? Hux got a raw deal. His whole life sucked. But, you know, I think it's realistic in his character that I don't think they were trying to redeem him or anything. It's just showing that that's how weaselly and conniving he is. When he thinks all hope is lost, it's not enough that they're all going down. He has to make sure that Kylo fails in some way first. He wasn't trying to help the Resistance so much as just undermine Kylo. And I get that for his character. I believe that. Kylo and Rey's duel in the Death Star was pretty sweet. And I'm pretty sure that's the angriest we've ever seen Rey. It's like she was teetering on the brink of the dark side that entire time until Leia's death finally snaps her out of it. The look that Rey and Kylo share after she heals him was fucking incredible. So many emotions were conveyed without a single word. And that is all about Adam Driver's acting, man. He's incredible. Daisy Ridley was really good in that scene too. The two of them together, it just worked. Hats off to the casting director. They really nailed it with these two. So the Han scene totally got me. I thought it was super emotional, and when I heard Harrison's voice in the theater, my eyes were like, straight away. I was like, oh my god, no way. And it was just really intense. It was really powerful. When Kylo says, Dad, I lost it. I just started crying. It was a very cathartic scene, just for the characters, and also like for us as Star Wars fans to watch it. Like, there's a lot of finality in the movie. You know, this is the end of the Skywalker Saga. But yeah, the Han scene is really what got me. Chewie's reaction to Leia's death was also super heartbreaking. He's like, him and Lando are the last ones left now. I really like that during like the tactical strategy session, they like address and discuss the Holdo maneuver and talk about why it's not practical and like finally put that stupid argument to bed. That was great. It's like, I'm glad we had this little talk. When Rey uses the knife and like pulls the little thing out and matches it up with the ruins of the Death Star, all I could think about was the Goonies when they used the map and Chester Copperpot and all that shit. It was kind of silly. But Star Wars is supposed to be a little bit silly, so it didn't feel out of place necessarily. Jana's backstory was cool, and from the promotional material, I really didn't see it coming, and it created a realistic bond between her and Finn. Like, yeah, I get it. The cinematography of Rey on the skimmer heading towards the Death Star ruins was epic as hell, and the interior of the Death Star ruins in general, it felt like you were on a whole different planet. It was awesome. I did notice that the pillar that Rey's climbing on at one point is totally the tractor beam control that Obi-Wan Kenobi disables in A New Hope. I also got serious chills when she climbs up into the throne room and we hear the music from when Vader removes his helmet in Return of the Jedi. That was a really cool moment. The Dark Rey vision was really neat. I'm glad that it wasn't anything more than a vision. It felt like something that they would have done in Legends. And as soon as she did the whole like shark teeth smile thing, all I could think about was Bilbo Baggins. I was impressed with what they were willing to take Poe's character in this. Like, he straight up despaired and like thought that everything was lost. Like, he was just about to give up. And that's not like a typical trait that they've given to a lot of the heroes. And so I appreciated that they were giving someone that kind of vulnerability. Made him a lot more relatable. And it helps to demonstrate that the events of The Last Jedi and Admiral Holdo actually really had an effect on him, you know? Rey passing the saber to Ben through the Force Bond, one of my favorite parts of the movie. That was really cool. And I loved how differently Adam Driver fights when he's Ben as opposed to Kylo. Like, the acting was phenomenal. The complete change in the physicality, the way he spoke, everything about it. The Knights of Ren fight was cool. It's about the coolest thing they ever did. And they got taken out about as quick as I expected. Snap Wexley's death hit me pretty hard. He was a comics favorite for sure. Rest in peace. Lando coming to the rescue was awesome with a massive, massive fleet. I really wish we'd taken a little bit more time with it though. Seen a couple more close-up shots just because I wanted to identify every single ship. I'll wait till I have it on HD and then I'm going to go through and try and list them all. It was cool seeing Wedge, even if it was for like 3 seconds. I know Dennis Lawson isn't huge about Star Wars these days, so it's impressive they got him back at all. I really like the line where he's like, where did all these fighter craft come from? They have no navy. And the guy's like, they're just people. It's like, fuck yeah, the whole galaxy hates you, First Order, you suck. That was really satisfying. Watching Y-Wings blow up Star Destroyers will never get old. And it's just as fun here. I loved it. The whole battle was really cool and epic. Also, revitalized Palpatine. Totally badass and probably my favorite of his appearances in the whole saga. We need that skin for Battlefront ASAP. Man, Palpatine is really not over the fact that he got shafted by Vader. So much so that he throws Ben down the pit. It's like, just get over it, old man. I've seen some people talk about how they thought it was silly, but I thought the base boosted lightning was awesome. Of course he can do that. He's fucking Palpatine and he's back and he's got the power of a Force dyad in his bloodstream right now. He's like high on the dark side. No, it was awesome. The only thing that would have made it better is if he'd yelled, "Unlimited power!" Nine Numb. Looks like he died. Wasn't really clear. I know there's a big debate raging right now about that. I could believe that he died easily. And we don't see him again in the film. So if anyone knows definitively, please let me know in the comments. The Jedi voices moment was really cool. Having Force ghosts appear might have honestly been underwhelming because everyone was speculating and speculating about it. Everyone was kind of expecting it. I'm kind of glad they went in a different direction. For my part, I heard Anakin, Obi-Wan, Qui-Gon, Mace, Yoda, Ahsoka, Kanan, of course, Luke. Luminara, I know was in there. Ayla Secura, I know was in there, but I'm not sure what they said. It was a touching moment, and I thought it was really cool. It really kind of drives home the fact that Liam Neeson has the coolest voice in the world, because everyone else sounded cool, but then Qui-Gon starts talking, and it's all amazing. Liam Neeson, man. I thought Palpatine's death was somewhat underwhelming. I don't like that Rey fought the Emperor alone. I really feel like Ben deserved to be in that moment, and he should have helped her win. Also, the fight itself, I wish had been more elaborate, and not just like lightning being reflected. It felt kind of lame. During the battle, we get one more chance to prove that the Falcon is still the fastest hunk of junk in the galaxy. I like that Lando saved Finn and Jannah the same way he saved Luke on the Cloud City in Empire Strikes Back. Daisy Ridley, really good at looking dead. Very convincing. So Ben Solo. Ben Solo. His is a story of tragedy. When I think about all the adventures that we could have had about Ben Solo running around the galaxy, it's hard not to feel robbed, but sacrificing his life to bring back Rey was a solid move for his character arc. After everything that he had done as Kylo Ren, he just wanted to be Ben, and he wanted to be with his parents. Speaking of which, on another note, he murdered Han Solo, and I think the galaxy does deserve some justice for that. It's heartbreaking, and it's tragic, but Ben Solo had to die. I just regret the potential storytelling that died with him. And I really thought it was touching that he disappeared into the Force at the same time as Leia. That got me too. The ending celebration is nice, very reminiscent of Return of the Jedi with those shots of Bespin and Jakku. For a second I thought that Star Destroyer was going to crash right into Cloud City. It's like, watch out. And I also thought it was really cool to see that the First Order Star Destroyer over Endor had been split in half. Looks like someone else did pull off a hold-on maneuver. Fuck yeah. Chewbacca getting Han's medal from Maz kind of cracked me up. It's like, why? I mean, I get it. Remember Han by, but it seemed like fan overservice. Like, he's drunk on fan service. You don't need to overserve him at this point. When Rey arrives on Tatooine and she flies past the Sandcrawler, and the sound editors just couldn't resist throwing in a little "ooh dee dee," that got a huge laugh out of my theater, actually. It was pretty good. Getting to see the Lars Homestead one last time was a special treat, and I wonder if they actually went back and filmed on location. Because it's possible. It's still out there in Tunisia. Rey's new lightsaber is totally badass. I really like the ignition style. And I'm pretty sure if you look, there's a green flash and a blue flash, which I believe are Luke and Leia's kyber crystals. As for the whole Rey who, first of all, what a nosy old woman. Like, who's asking, lady? I like seeing Luke and Leia standing together as ghosts in the Force. And Rey taking on the Skywalker name does make sense to me, but it's not really what I would have gone with. I think it would have been perfectly fine if the Skywalker line had ended with Ben Solo, and there just are no more Skywalkers in the galaxy. Like, that seems much more like it would be the end of the Skywalker Saga. Because Rey is a Skywalker now, the saga's not over, so where does that leave us? Overall, I had a really good time watching this movie in the theater. I cried a little bit, I laughed, I yelled at the screen, and I left the theater feeling like I got what I came for, which is just a fun, entertaining Star Wars movie. Was it a perfect Star Wars movie? No. But I think the perfect Star Wars ending is kind of like Nirvana. It's unattainable. And that's kind of the point. Thanks for watching, everybody. Check out the rest of the channel for more content, reactions, and reviews. Leave me a comment if you have a question or something to say. If you want to support the channel, go to patreon.com/KyleKatarnChannel. You'll get access to content polls, exclusive videos, full-length versions of some of the reactions on here, and a couple other things too. Thanks again, and as always, may the Force be with you.